Hi, everyone. Welcome to Naturally Immune for Life. Hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for your time. This is probably one of the most important posts I will ever write and have ever written in my book, in my former site, Alternavita, and probably well into the future until this critical issue gets resolved in some way or another, whether with a better formula, infant formula, or with more mandates on the importance of breastfeeding. So, this post is, and I'm going to tell you why it's all critical here in a second. Gut instincts. Why breastfeeding is critical to preventing childhood malnutrition. Now, first of all, so many people think nutrition is just food related, and as long as you stuff enough food in there, things will be okay. And if you pick a better grade of food, like vegetables in lieu of candy, things will be okay. And if you go another step further and you choose organic in lieu of non-organic, things will be even better. No, no, and no. That's not what is the critical issue here. And the critical issue is proper gut development. So, what is SAM? Severe acute malnutrition is SAM. It's a critical health issue affecting millions of children worldwide. And I'm going to demonstrate in the sources that there are varying degrees of severity to this. And it's mainly the most critical children affected are in low and middle income countries. SAM is characterized by a weight per length z-score, meaning 3 standard deviations below the median or the presence of nutritional edema. While inadequate food intake and infections are contributors, emerging research highlights the significant role of gut development, especially influenced by breastfeeding, in the onset and progression of SAM. Malnourished children have a gut microbiota that doesn't mature properly. Unlike their healthy peers, and this is going to strongly associate healthy peers versus non-healthy peers with breastfeeding and improper gut development. These children's microbiomes remain stuck in an immature state. Even when their diets are supplemented with therapeutic foods, and these are high density therapeutic foods, medicinal foods, which increases calories and nutrients, their gut doesn't fully recover. These foods help reduce deaths from starvation, but they don't fix the deeper issue, an underdeveloped gut ecosystem. Because gut immaturity in early life has long-term consequences, it doesn't just slow physical growth. According to research, perhaps more insidious than slowing growth is malnutrition's effect on less visible aspects of health, including impaired brain development and dysfunctional immunity, which follow these children throughout their lives. And that's another point. If you do not understand the importance of the gut, no matter your condition, it's already been shown, reverse cause transfer through the groundbreaking study of transferring and reversing obesity from one person to another, or first mice and then people. And then it went on to show infectious, mental, arthritis, and autoimmune, and obesity would cover metabolic issues. And it's already been established that these things can be caused and reversed simply by either transplanting a healthy donor or a donor with a sick donor, vice versa. And the direction is gut to brain. It's not brain to gut, it's gut to brain. So pretty much all these bases have been covered, and there are varying degrees of SAM. So if you think this isn't affecting me because I'm not in a low income or middle income country, I'm going to show you down here that in 2005, only 10% of children in the US were breastfed. That's over a generation ago. They're now young adults. The majority of them, I'm guessing, are having one form of chronic health condition or another. And only 40% of the world's children were breastfed in 2005. And that is according to infant formula statistics, because you can't rely on hospital reporting. You can't rely on self-reporting. But I guarantee they know every infant that is being formula fed by volume alone and distribution alone. So infant formula statistics are the most reliable that we have, and whether that has been updated since that date, I don't know. But that's a very, very ominous statistic for the world's children. And maybe a child will not end up as they do in low income countries, but that is mainly because in other countries they have good sanitation and they have more access to food. But in low income countries, they have poor sanitation, they don't have adequate food supplies, and then they're not breastfed, and they usually die by age of 10 from diarrheal, some form of a diarrheal disease. So you might live longer simply because you don't have 3 out of 3 strikes against you, but you are definitely going to be suffering from the effects of this throughout life. Okay? And they already know this. They already know the associations. They already know the critical factors. They hoped that just by restoring, clearing up the infections in these children, the diarrheal components, giving them nutrient-dense foods, including fiber, that it would restore everything, but they didn't get the results that they hoped. So the research continues. And I'm going to tell you where it is from one of the leading researchers in this field, and some new developments that are pretty interesting. So the role of breastfeeding in gut development. Breastfeeding is fundamental for the optimal development of the infant's gut microbiota. Human breast milk contains a complex array of nutrients and bioactive components, including human milk oleosaccharides, which promote the growth of beneficial bacteria like Bifidobacterium longum and subspecies B. infantis. These bacteria are crucial for establishing a healthy gut environment, enhancing nutrient absorption, and strengthening the immune system. In contrast, infants who are not breastfed or are weaned early often exhibit delayed or disrupted gut microbiota development. Studies have shown that such infants have reduced levels of beneficial bacteria and increased colonization by potentially harmful pathogens. And I did not, there are some indications of what those harmful pathogens are, but one of them is definitely C. diff that I remember in these sources that I'm showing you. So you might want to consider, as I said, Saccharomyces boulardii. And I'll get to that later, okay? This imbalance can impair nutrient absorption and compromise immune defenses, increasing the risk of malnutrition. So the gut microbiota and severe malnutrition, severe acute malnutrition, the gut microbiota plays a pivotal role in a child's nutritional status. In children with SAM, research has identified a significant alteration in gut microbial composition, characterized by a decreased diversity and a reduction in beneficial anaerobic bacteria. This dysbiosis leads to impaired digestion and nutrient absorption, exacerbating malnutrition. Moreover, the absence or low abundance of B. infantis in malnourished infants has been linked to poor growth outcomes. This bacterium is instrumental in metabolizing human milk oleosaccharides and producing short-chain fatty acids, which are vital for gut health and energy provision. Its deficiency underscores the importance of breastfeeding in establishing a beneficial gut microbiota. And one of those other critical deficiencies is the inability to produce vitamin B12. WHO guidelines and interventions. Recognizing the critical role of breastfeeding in preventing and managing SAM, the WHO recommends exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life, followed by continued breastfeeding alongside appropriate complementary foods up to 2 years or beyond. For infants under 6 months with SAM, the WHO advises inpatient care with a focus on reestablishing breastfeeding. Support for relactation or wet nursing is encouraged when direct breastfeeding is not immediately possible. In cases where breastfeeding cannot be reinitiated, appropriate replacement feeding with close monitoring is recommended. Additionally, interventions targeting the gut microbiota are being explored. Probiotic supplementation, particularly with strains like B. infantis, have shown promise in improving growth outcomes in malnourished children. These approaches aim to restore a healthy gut environment, enhancing nutrient absorption and immune function. So in conclusion, the development of a healthy gut microbiota is essential for a child's gut growth and overall health. Breastfeeding plays a crucial role in this process by providing necessary nutrients and beneficial bacteria to establish a balanced gut environment. Lack of breastfeeding can disrupt gut development, leading to increased susceptibility to infections and malnutrition, including severe acute malnutrition. Therefore, promoting and supporting breastfeeding practices are vital strategies in preventing and managing SAM, as emphasized by WHO guidelines. Continued research into microbiota-targeted interventions offers hope for enhancing treatment outcomes for malnourished children, and integrating these approaches with established nutritional and breastfeeding support can provide a comprehensive strategy to combat SAM and improve child health globally. So it's important to know these statistics. It's important to know that all infections begin with immune deficiency, and supporting the immune system from the inside out is the key to breaking this cycle. For any infectious or parasitic disease to start, it is always a requisite that the host suffer immune deficiency. At the same time, infectious and parasitic diseases themselves cause additional immune suppression and more malnutrition. And one of these, the most common immune deficiency related to this and in general is IgA immune deficiency. And that is, if you read the sources, you will see that that is the associated immune deficiency that helps protect against postnatal pathogenic threats. This immune suppression is secondary to the accumulation of free radicals, especially oxidizing species, that occurs during and after infectious and parasitic diseases. So the infections cause additional immune suppression and then even more malnutrition. So this is the interesting part, and this is from the father of the microbiome, Dr. Jeffrey Gordon, and he is continuing his work on children in Bangladesh, and they are testing a probiotic, the Infantis, and testing it against nutrient-dense foods. And the results are that just adding one probiotic improved outcomes. So I'm going to read you that little snippet here in a second. Just let me get my voice back. Gut bacterium supports growth in infants. And by the way, I would also like to say that not only did they transfer obesity, they've also transferred starvation. So just by transferring the microbiota from an unhealthy donor to a healthy donor, they could actually induce starvation. So severe acute malnutrition affects about 18 million children under age 5 worldwide and causes over 3 million deaths each year. While current treatments like high-calorie food and antibiotics can save lives, they don't fully fix long-term problems like stunted growth, weak immune systems, and poor brain development. A new 2021 study led by Washington University and researchers in Bangladesh tested a probiotic called Bifidobacterium infantis, B. infantis, in infants with SAM. This healthy gut bacteria usually grows well in breastfed babies, but was nearly absent in severely malnourished infants. Adding this probiotic to standard treatment helped infants gain more weight and reduce gut inflammation. So I would like to say that the nutritional status of the mother is also very important. And I'm sure in the case of the Japanese, who were the first to develop infant formula, part of the reason was a desire to reverse malnutrition and starvation. So I don't hold the development of formula against anyone. However, they have known for a very, very long time that this was causing problems and affecting the future health of millions upon millions of children, of which I am one. Okay. So However, the probiotic strain from the US didn't grow very well in the Bangladeshi infants' guts. Researchers then found a stronger local strain of B. infantis that digests local foods better. In lab tests on mice, this Bangladeshi strain showed better colonization and improved growth. This study shows that selecting the right strain of gut bacteria, especially ones adapted to local diets, could help improve treatments for malnourished children and support better long-term recovery. So it was interesting to note that just like when people, I forget in particular which country it was, but when they immigrate to the US, they develop digestive issues until they adapt to the local foods. It turns out that that is even more important, probably, than anyone thought, and this study is showing how, in that it improves the colonization of a particular group of people and a particular bacteria and improves their outcome of their treatment. So that is, it might even seem like more of a needle in a haystack, but nevertheless, it's very interesting that these, what's the word? Suspicions are being further confirmed about the benefits of consuming local. And regarding milk, for one thing, that is very important. So now we know that not only does it just improve your digestion, we know why it helps improve your digestion. So, okay, everyone. So I'm going to run down with you this WHO Millennium Goal, which led to the publication of my book and the restoration of my own health after 40 plus years of chronic conditions, one after the other, and just getting worse and worse and worse year after year because one, I was premature, which also isn't good for gut development and immune development. I was not breastfed due to being premature. So even though I'm not a SAM child in dire straits like the ones in low income countries, they know, and I know since my remarkable recovery with natural oral immune therapy, how crucial this is for children everywhere. So the WHO Millennium Goals, I'm going to repeat: breastfeeding, food security, and water security. That's the hierarchical order, and that's the order they put them in. Are major protective factors against malnutrition and critical factors in the maturation of healthy gut microbiota, characterized by a transient bifidobacterial bloom before a global rise in anaerobes. This is the transition period. Primary colonizer of the infant gut is bifido. When you begin to introduce complementary foods, then you develop a healthy, mature gut microbiota. And this early depletion of bifido, which is known to inhibit pathogens, represents the first step in microbiota alteration associated with SAM. Later, the absence of healthy, mature, anaerobic gut microbiota leads to deficient energy harvest, vitamin biosynthesis, and immune protection, and is associated with diarrhea, malabsorption, and systemic invasion by microbial pathogens. And we also know it's associated with dysfunctional immunity, stunted growth, and impaired brain development. So a therapeutic diet and infection treatment may be unable to restore bifido and HMAGM. So just diet alone and infection treatment, and of course, proper sanitation did not give the results they hoped. Even though it helped prevent deaths from starvation, it did not fix this persistent, immature microbiota development. Okay, so that's extremely, extremely important. So we're kind of going a little bit backwards here because we started out with the further problems this leads to down the road: leaky gut, chronic inflammation, dysfunctional autophagic system, poor metabolism, metabolic syndromes. And now we're going back to the beginning, and we're going to show how the malnutrition begins to convey its deleterious effects on people the longer this goes on, this malnutrition. And another thing, if you think this can't happen to you because you've been breastfed, there are many things that can wipe out your healthy, mature gut bacteria and wipe them out pretty good. So you could end up in this state at any time in your life just from overzealous treatments, overuse of antibiotics, terminal diet of processed foods. Doesn't take very long, about 3 to 4 months, to get in a severely malnourished state where you will be having some major effects from malnutrition. So this can affect anybody at any time in their life to one degree or another. And that's also very important to remember. And so all of it's important to remember. Doesn't matter your condition. It's all been shown. The gut impact on chronic conditions, cause, reverse, transfer, gut to brain, not brain to gut, malnutrition, chronic inflammation, chronic disease, chronic conditions, on and on. So don't think this isn't impacting you, whether from day one or whether at some other point in your life. This research is very important, and the ones who already found a way to get this safely into the marketplace, like the Japanese, who were leaders in infant formula development, who were the first to see the effects of infant formula feeding. I guarantee they were the first to see the effects because they developed and mass marketed infant formula around 1910, the earliest mass adopters of infant formula. And they also began to see the effects within a generation or two. I guarantee by generation two, the effects were even worse. So they were the leaders in mass adoption, and they were the first to see the effects. Therefore, that made them the leaders in mass marketing natural oral immune therapy like GCMAF, MAF, and others. Okay, that's my rant. And it's not just a rant, it's fully backed by research in every country. Israel today does not allow marketing of infant formula in their hospitals. It's backed by research in every country. It's backed by research by the WHO. And I assure you, the current funding for this is coming from those who promoted infant formula and are infant formula makers. And that is part of who is funding this current research that I just presented today. Okay, everyone, have a great day and thank you so much for your time. And please, 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 for the health of a child, like, share, and subscribe this important video. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You have a great day. Bye.